Hi, everybody. I'm Alice K. Rucklehouse from SufferingWell, and we're still talking about the Rosary. This week, we've been talking about the mysteries, which are kind of the main point of the Rosary. So each time that you say the Rosary, you meditate on 5 mysteries because there's 5 decades in the Rosary. So there are 4 sets of 5 mysteries. The first set is called the Joyful Mysteries. We talked about that on Monday. The next set is the Luminous Mysteries, which we talked about on Tuesday. And so you can imagine that on Wednesday, we talked about the Sorrowful Mysteries, and now we're talking about the Glorious Mysteries. These go all the way through Jesus' life with the most important events of his life. The Glorious Mysteries start with the resurrection. So the first one is the resurrection, and that, of course, is probably the most important thing in Jesus' life. We might want to say that the crucifixion is the most important, but St. Paul says that the crucifixion isn't any good without the resurrection. So the resurrection and the crucifixion, those are probably the most important things. So the glorious mysteries start with his resurrection. The glorious mysteries are things that are happy. We just looked at the really sorrowful things of Jesus' passion and his death, and now we're looking at his resurrection and onward. The second glorious mystery is his ascension into heaven. Okay, he stays on the earth for 40 days after his resurrection. He preaches, he does miracles and everything, and gets the disciples kind of started and everything, but he tells them to wait for the Holy Spirit. And then he goes floating up to heaven. And a couple of angels come and tell them he's going to come back the way that he left them. And they're left going, okay, now what? Well, the last instruction that they had from Jesus was to go wait in Jerusalem until the Holy Spirit came. So they trudge back there and they hang out there for 9 days, which is where we get, by the way, our novena. This was the first novena, the first 9 days of praying for something. So they prayed for the Holy Spirit to come. And on the day of Pentecost, there was a great wind and fire, and little tongues of fire appeared on each of the Christians' heads. And so, and then they were speaking in tongues, languages that they didn't even know. And people who had come there for Pentecost from all different countries understood what they were saying, and they had never learned those languages. They were preaching the gospel. And I think that about 3,000 people were brought to the Lord on that day. So it's a pretty important thing. And of course, it's important because the Holy Spirit helps us to live our lives as Christians even now, 2,000 years later. So that's very cool. The fourth glorious mystery is the Assumption of Mary. In other words, that was when she was taken up into heaven to be with Jesus. And, she lived for many years, I think, after Jesus' resurrection. I'm actually not sure how many years. I need to find that out. But anyway, so she was assumed into heaven, body and soul. And that's about Mary. So what, didn't we say that these are about Jesus? Well, yes. Something that happens to your mother, especially when your mother comes home to be with you, that's a really, really big deal. My mom's coming to visit me in October, and I'm so excited about it. So I can imagine Jesus was really excited when his mom was coming home to be with him. And then the fifth glorious mystery is the coronation of Mary as Queen of Heaven. And we see that in Revelation 12. She's coronated to be Queen of Heaven. That doesn't mean that she's Jesus' wife. In the Old Testament, we see some examples of queens who were actually the mother of the king. And they kind of had the king's ear. And we know that we could go to Mary and ask her to intercede to Jesus for us, to take us to him. And that's just, it's extra special to be able to go with his mother to him. All right, so that was a real quick run through of the 5 glorious mysteries. If you missed the others, go back and look at them. I'll have links below. I'll have the link to Keith Nestor's Rosary Crew, which I really, really, really recommend that you check out. And, oh yes, and his book. I'll have a link to his book as well. Tomorrow, we'll have a very special prayer for you. We have Friday Reparation on Fridays. If you don't know what that is, I've got a video about that too. So that'll be linked below. Be sure to see that so you know what on earth we're doing, what are we repairing. And we'll have a really special prayer tomorrow. And so we'll see you then. All right, I love you all. Bye-bye.